Good morning. Welcome to Ag Talk in a Row, where I talk raw about agriculture and other things that are on my mind. Yes, I've shaved. I shaved before I went to Texas. Texas, and I ended up in Oklahoma, broke down. The motorhome is still there, but I made a video before I left. Let's say it was on the 26th of February. February. I got to say that right because I get picked on for saying February. February. From New Jersey. What the hell do you want? Anyway, I'll pick my nose a little bit, And yeah, I'm going to do the video that I said that I was going to do, in which there was a farm accident. Okay, so there was a farm accident about, well, I don't know. I learned about it on the 25th or 26th of last month, and I said that I didn't know what the problem was or what happened, and I was since informed by some of these people here that have researched it a little more than I was, because I was detained in Oklahoma, stuck there, and I just didn't have time to deal with it. But anyhow, I asked everybody to write in a story, their story of near death or the problems that they had. At least that's what I vaguely remember doing. Yeah, and so I have a lot of reading to do. Got my reading glasses on, and I don't know if this was a premonition of what was going to happen. Teresa made this hat for me, and it was a joke, but the joke was on us, I guess, and there we go. Anyway, so I'm going to start reading these things. We did find out what happened to the little boy. He was run over by his grandfather while plowing snow. Very sad ending to a bright star. It's really sad from what I can see from the social media. I do not know the parents of this child. I do know that it's a good family, and it's really a great loss and a great shame that happened. And of course, I have a son here that's approximately the same age. He's a month older than what this little boy was. And I could see that happening to William. I really could, because he is just a curious little monkey. I mean, he goes, you really have to be on him, your eyes on him all the time. And, sometimes you turn around like, where'd he go? Where's he at? And being at the farm with the big tractors that we have and stuff like that, if it just scares the hell out of me that this happened to this little boy, and it could possibly happen to my own son. And I've raised children before, so I know what to expect. But things are a little busier now, and it just scares me. But whatever, as long as he's in the tractor, he's fine, or in the truck, he's fine. It's when he's not, and he can move fast. But anyway, I'm going to start right from the top. I guess I'm going to sort this by the newest first, and we will do newest first and go from there. Scary Gary is the first one. Some of these things are going to be pretty. Oh my God, Scary Gary, why did you write me a novel? As a mid, maybe 10, 11, I almost had an accident like your biggest fear. I was brush hogging at my grandpa's in an old Russian-made tractor here, the Belarus from the 70s. It happened to stop running on me and wouldn't start. We're in Pennsylvania, so everything is a hill, and I'm up top. The hill behind the house just turned around to start back down when it died. I know what's going to happen. So I put the tractor in neutral, let it coast to pop start it. That was my mistake. I took it out of gear knowing the thing had nothing for brakes at all. The way to stop it, if you ever had to push the throttle up to kill it and it would stop, that's what my dad taught me about it, because it's an old primitive piece of junk. My plan was get it going, to put it back into gear, hope it starts up. If not, it would stop. Problem is, it wouldn't go back into gear, and I'm a little kid in a great big open station heavy tractor with no power steering, unable to turn, with no brakes, and no way to stop it, in full-blown panic. I came off that hill at who knows how fast, but fast. the way the land is, you have a hill behind the house. It's long but really steep. Then down by the house, it flattens out before going down a steep hill out from that. It's also long. This is hard to read. Then the road and the fence on the other side onto another slight hill of a field. Then the creek on the other side of the creek. It's a big hill going up. That's 60 acres maybe. When I got to the flat and slowed down a bit, my dad was there and jumped on the mower and up over the back to hold of me, ready to throw me off the tractor, and then turning it, trying to keep us from starting down the next hill while screaming at me, "Put it in gear!" I was still rolling pretty good across the flat area. It had slowed down, but it wasn't close to stopping. My dad's a big fat guy, too, but he beelined from the garage and caught me passing by and jumped on the back like a movie scene. He managed to turn it and keep us on the flat, and we rolled to a stop, thank God. If not, he was throwing me off and jumping and letting the thing go. I grew up around the farm. I knew how to run equipment and not get hurt, but I'd never been in a situation like that. That was the last time I ever took that thing out of gear like that, too. Okay, so yeah, that shit happens all the time. Now I get free chickens and money orders. Huh? How I get free chicks and money orders. Delete. Posted on the wrong site. That's classic. I'm like, how I get free checks and money orders. I don't know what the hell, but that was funny. Delete, posted on wrong site. Oh my God. These are terrible things. My son is about the same age as Will, so I know what you mean and and say this strikes home. The same here on the farm. I watch him like a hawk and don't leave him in a running tractor if I go out, just for the reason you said. Don't want to be killed either. Be careful and safe. Their fellow farmers thought on them. Lost child. Oh my God, some of this stuff. Me and my brother and sister are children of dairy farm. It is a miracle me and my bro are alive. We did too much. Our parents would have had heart attacks just to know all the things. And I can't read all of these. There's 100 or so. Yeah, so obviously there's just a lot of stories. Yeah. 20 years ago, I got blindsided in the face by a known to be mean, fresh Holstein cow, busting me open just below my right eye. Also, 4 years ago, I had a first calf heifer, also a Holstein, pin me up against a gate, bruising some ribs. Holsteins are brutal. Just absolutely brutal. I worked with Holsteins. We actually were doing Jersey Holstein crosses there for the first calf heifers. Kept a few of them. Those were more docile and friendly. Holsteins, man, that breed has been bastardized so much that even the calves won't suckle their mothers. Towards the end of our dairy operation, and we quit in 2011, the Holstein heifers, or the calves, you literally had to tube feed them. They would not drink. They would starve themselves to death. That instinct of going to their mother for milk was gone. It was just gone. And I don't know if anybody else has had that experience or not, but we certainly did. It was terrible. It was terrible. I'll never forget. I mean, we wore tube feed bags out with these calves, and we ended up with Johne's disease in our herd from the deer population. Johne's is prevalent in deer. They carry it. Don't ask me where they got it from. We may have got it from the vet or from, say, the breeder or even the Surge milker parts guy. They also serviced we had Bodden and Newpulse, and that's what we milked with. And they were good milkers. I mean, we used those for a lot of years. No electric, they were New Zealand invention. Anyway, in order to get rid of the Johne's, we actually could never allow the calves to suck their mothers. And there wasn't really a problem from that point forward because they wouldn't drink anyway. I mean, you could fight with a calf for 2, 3 days trying to get them to suck, and it was just, the cows would kick the calves off of them. They were just awful, awful. And those were Holsteins. I mean, they were awful. If you Jersey crossed them, boom, you didn't even have to look at them. They just got up and right to the mother. Yep. Yep, and that's true. Reject was one of those. That was a Charolais. I think it was a Hereford Charolais cross is what they were. They were just mutt of animals. But when I had Reject, that heifer was having that calf. I snuck up behind her. I put strings on Reject. I think I did. I think I filmed it, and I pulled that calf out. And when she turned her head and saw me there, she took off the other end of the pasture. And every time that calf went to drink, to get some milk, that heifer would just kick him and just brutalize that poor calf. And that's why we called him Reject, because he was rejected. He ended up with infected knees. He was just a mess. I don't know. And then I see people with Black Anguses, that all through the Oklahoma, landscape. You see Black Angus, acres and acres and thousands of Angus. And the calves are just dropping on the ground out there right now, and Mama's just stands there and lets them eat. So it's terrible what they did to the Holstein breed. King of Hearts. I'm going to read this one. I'm just going to kind of go through this a little bit. Horror story from the farm in the Netherlands some 40 years ago. 4-year-old boy was playing hide and seek with his friend. Dad comes home from mowing the fields to have lunch. He used a skirted disc mower on the back of the tractor. I see where this is going. Kid decides to go hide under there. When the dad had his lunch and starts the tractor and hears weird sounds from the back, he then hung himself in the barn. His wife died not long after. Yeah, that stuff happens. One time me and Dad were at a meeting out in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, a growers meeting, and we needed points for the herbicide, pesticide licenses. And we were there eating lunch, and there was a representative for some chemical company, and he said, "Oh yeah," he says, "worst farm accident I ever saw was father was chopping corn silage," and I may have said this story before because it's disturbing. Chopping corn silage, and the kids was up on top of the silo, and his father was the one that was running the chopper. Well, they had pretty much decided that this, there's a pattern that they wanted to go in to chop these fields for corn silage and blow them up the silo. Well, he's up on top of the silo. His kids are down below, and there's a bunch, it's typical Amish or Mennonite family. And the father didn't go into the field that they thought he was going to go into, and the grandfather of these kids. And the kids were in the other cornfield, and he saw it happen. Father goes in, self-propelled chopper, something like a John Deere 5400 or something like that. I believe that was what he had said, just old stuff. And the older kids went scattering through the field, and all they found were sneakers with feet in them. It was just, didn't even know it. Just went right in. The father watched it happen from the top of the silo. There was nothing he could do. Terrible stories. I mean, terrible. Okay. I should make an Ag Talking Raw podcast. Well, I don't know how to do it. Honestly, I have no idea. I know a guy that's been killed. I know of the guy that have been killed and a few lucky ones. The most recent one, this kind of lucky group, was last summer. One of the customers was out cutting hay with a haybind plugged. He turned the PTO off, left the tractor running, went in. PTO left the tractor running, went to unplug the machine. He got the lump out, and just as he did, the PTO kicked in and grabbed him with the reel, pulled him in between the reel and the conditioner rolls. He told me, "It's true, your life flashes before your eyes," and he had to use all his strength not to go through the rolls. He said the next issue is getting out of the running machine. He had been cut and stabbed a few times with the few times with the reel tines, and on the way in, he kind of knew his fingers were going to get it on the way out with the knife. He was right. Luckily, after a few surgeries and a month of physical time off from work, he's still got about half of the end of one finger, but he's suffering from nerve damage, cold weather here in Canada. The tractor had hydraulic operated PTO lever. I know it apart. I now have it apart in my shop, and the PTO quit on his feed wagon this winter. I can't prove it 100%, but the two issues are very likely connected. As the pack came apart, I think the first bits is what let it go in gear before it failed completely. I now tell everybody, shut the bloody tractor off. You just don't know, especially with this modern electronic stuff, as one short could start a PTO or hydraulic circuit. As for William in the cab, he either needs a child seat like my uncle did with his son in the cab, or shut the thing off. Likely you should be doing, if anybody gets out and goes near the machine, it's pulling on their own. Like this guy found out, it's not worth the risk cutting a corner with your life. Your kid's going to remember it too if he was there or the cause. The guy's kid got pretty messed up when his dad walked in the house covered in blood, looking like something from a bad chainsaw accident. Yeah, that's terrible. That is terrible. I've heard of this before. I remember watching I think it was like a Phil Donahue show, and this guy was out with a sickle bar mower. God, this just is crazy. Sickle bar mower. He got off the tractor, and it was something like a Case tractor from the 70s. They did not have parking brakes or parking transmissions. They didn't have a park ball in the transmission. They just had a parking brake. Well, you know what happens when you don't release the parking brake. People, kids will do this, or, people that are in a hurry. They forget to release the parking brake, and they just drive and burn the brakes up on these tractors, these old tractors. Farmalls were like that. John Deere's obviously were like that until the 10 series John Deere, the 4010. Those when they first started putting park balls in on the more common tractors. I think the 8010, 8020 had parking transmissions, but the two-cylinder ones, the 10s and 20s, the 10 series. They started with the 10 series. Everything before that was just brakes, and brakes wear out. Anyways, this guy he got out to move something out of the field, whether it was a tree branch or a fawn or whatever, and the damn tractor started to roll, and it caught him behind the leg. The sickle bar. He didn't shut the PTO off. Cut the shit out of this guy. Fingers, hands, one hand, fingers, ankles, all kinds of just badass stuff. He survives. He's in a wheelchair over a sickle bar mower. You think that hickory stick would have broke, right? Ugh. Yeah. Yep. Unfortunately, most things we call accidents are usually because of someone doing something stupid. Well, you were stupid by accident, and that's an accident. A neighbor farm had a man caught in a PTO shaft and a manure pump. Horrible way to die. Yep, it usually shreds you to pieces. A dairy I worked on, a young man got killed when he was cutting the bunk plastic back. It caved in, and he was buried. And that happens too. Silo gas is another one. It'll come right over the doors and down for the upright silos. When I was 14 in 1990, I think the best friend dropped his Walkman down into their non-liquid spreader and got overcome by the fumes. He didn't make it out. Yeah, that's methane. One of the most dangerous bulls is the dairy bull because they don't close their eyes when they charge. Same as a cow. Oh yeah. Timothy almost got it. I think I told that story of Walter the bull. We ate him. I'm a farm accident survivor. Here we go. I like these. The ones that actually, secondhand stories are okay, but firsthand ones for sure. October of '02, I lost my left hand and wrist in a husking bed of a John Deere number 18 corn picker. I was alone for almost an hour and a half. A surgeon was aboard Aero Med to perform field amputation. I was 21. Still hurts like hell. I believe it was a mix of a little inexperience being in a hurry, and with me, some sheer stupidity. Well, Chris Morris, I feel you. I do. I mean, I got caught in a baler. I didn't lose anything, but I survived it, and I don't know how. Um, there's Jay Blazer. My grandpa had almost the same thing happen. Got his hand caught in the rollers of the husking bed. Not nearly as bad as you. Just got his fingers in most of his hand. I could only imagine the pain. I don't even want to know, man. I remember listening to a guy. It was a story on, I think it was on Ag TV or, yeah, what the heck was that called? Yeah. Anyways, it was on TV, and he had walked in front of the corn head on a combine, and he was going to pull something out of the corn head from the front, and the gathering chains caught him in the legs and chewed through the meat on his legs, right? And so the bones were rattling on the stalks, the stalk rollers in a John Deere, like a 9600 John Deere combine. It's like, holy shit. Could you imagine hearing your bones rattling up against no. Oh my God. And they amputated, of course, had to take it off at the hips. He doesn't even have prosthetics from what I saw. Oh, that was just brutal. But it puts you in mind. I mean, I've done stupid shit like that. That's just dumb stuff. You just, no big deal. You walk up to the front, you grab it. Well, it sucked him in. He survived, though. I mean, he survived. Don't ask me how. Yeah, Larry Keener says a man backed up a pickup and struck the little boy. That must have been awful. It was his grandfather, by the way. His grandfather. And damn, I just can't believe it was the little boy's grandfather. I just can't believe it. But years ago, my son was in a baby walker, and he went 0 to 60 in a split second off the edge of a sidewalk. It was a 2-inch drop in the pavement. The baby walker tipped over. I caught him just as his face touched the pavement. Could have been a lot worse. He's your age now. Wow. Yeah, that was a big thing he used to see. Baby walkers, even today, I think they're hard to push because they put a little bit of friction on them so that they don't roll as nice as the old ones with the big wheels. You got these little stupid wheels like that. Yeah, remember like Charlie Chaplin, Charlie Chaplin movies from the 20s where the baby stroller or but they had the big wheels. I mean, those things were designed to go over stuff. I had one when I was a kid. I used to play with it. It was something that my great-grandmother had. It was probably from my father. Don't know. With you on the go fund me thing, farming is dangerous. Experience counts for a lot. It would give you the heebies if you stopped and thought about it. Oh, he's with me on the GoFundMe thing. Yeah, well, I think that GoFundMe page was set up by a friend of theirs, which is fine. The GoFundMe, to me, I don't know. Get the little boy buried. Take that money and don't use it for farming. Use it for education, awareness, and other things for maybe other people. Safety for Just Kids is a good organization. I don't say just give it to them, but yeah. Here's one. I can never pronounce your name. Griffungen. My neighbor's 13-year-old daughter was thrown from a horse and killed last year. Very tragic situation. Damn. I hate horses. My horse was a violent bronc. I took it saddling her every day for several months to get her okay with the idea of wearing it. I'm careful with her. I invested a lot of money into my saddle, so I'm seated in good, but there is no guarantee that even a quiet horse won't get scared and decide the rider has to get ditched so it can save itself. Oh, believe me, I've been thrown from horses a few times. I can find better things to do other than ride a horse. I just don't, I've ridden several horses and I just do not have any desire to get on the back of a horse anymore. Yeah. Heavy stuff I witnessed. A farmer almost died of a bull. Heavy stuff. I witnessed a farmer almost die of a bull. As we say here in the Netherlands, an accident is in a small corner. William is just like our youngest, flipping light switches, looking at the in the shop and cow barn and whatnot. Yeah, it's it's dangerous at a farm, especially for little guys. Especially for little guys. Especially for little guys like my little guy. He's just curious as could be. He's 2.5. He doesn't listen worth a damn. Um, I got a buddy when he was like 16. He would cross over a PTO shaft without any shields. Well, that's just stupidity. That's blatant stupidity. You will not get me crossing over even a power takeoff shaft where the shield is chained up, like on our balers. I will not go near that thing. Never. I don't want to die like that. When I was 17, I got buried alive in a corn bin. How they found me was my hat floated to the top. It's not a good feeling. I'm 58 years old now, and I still have nightmares about it. Oh, believe me, I know where you're talking about. I got buried about up to my chest in urea in a truck. And I also got buried up to my chest in the same damn truck with oats. The oats was no big deal because that's not that heavy. But urea, let me tell you, that was something else. It was stuck up in the top of the truck. So my dad's like, hey, go give that thing a kick. And it wasn't like it was like this. It was only on like a, 30 degree, maybe a 35 degree incline. I kicked that stuff and what happened was I grabbed the chain that held the sides from going open, and it come down, and boy, I'll tell you, you want to talk about heavy? It took my dad a lot to pull me out of that thing. It scared me, but I never let go of the chain. If I let go of the chain, I probably would have, because he had the gate all the way open, and it was just sucking me down. Oh, it was tough. That was tough, and I was no little kid either. I might have been 12, 14 years old at that time. My son almost got kicked in the head by a milk cow when we were switching, just standing along the lane. He was 3 or 4. Most farm accidents happen because farmer was in a hurry. Yeah, switching out cows can be we used to switch out cows, half the barn. We'd switch them out. Sometimes at some points, we would switch out the whole new barn, never the old barn. 12 and 12, we would switch out in the one. I remember switching out 12 and 12, so we were switching 24 cows, 60 cow barn, which is 84 cows. Yeah, we did that. I remember switching out to one side. Boy, did that get those cows antsy. They wouldn't go in. It's a funny thing, switching out like that. If you switch out one side, like, okay, we're going to switch out this side. So the cows that would come in and normally stand on that side, the ones from the other side were trying to force their way in when we would put the cows in the barn because they didn't want to stand there while we milked the other cows. So we got so that we would release both sides, and then we would make them all go to the one side. We'd release one side, cows would come in, we'd lock them in, and then release the other side. We would only do that in the summertime because in the wintertime we needed the barn full because it was cold in there. About 50 years ago, a nearby farmer's son got pulled into the combine and it killed him. About 48 years ago, neighbors were trying to pull out backwards a stuck tractor, and the stretchy type rope snapped in the end of the tractor that was pulling and flew into the cab and struck the tractor, stuck the tractor, and took the head, oh God, off the driver. I'm reading these as they're typed. You guys got to slow down a little bit. 50 to 60 years ago, a bull gored and paralyzed my sister-in-law's dad. About 46 years ago, a cow with an attitude trapped me in a stall and tried killing me until I screamed and my brother yelled and the cow backed off. That cow hated me and tried going after me several more times. That cow scared the hell out of me. About 45 years ago, 2 teenagers from school were riding a tractor and it rolled over in a ditch, trapping one of them and killing him. The other one had jumped off. I'm sure that there are others I forgot about, but farms are dangerous. Yes, they are. Let's see, this is Boyd. About 10 years ago, my dad's farm in Victoria, Australia, there was a bunch of corn stalks stuck at the feed part of the pull-type corn chopper. So my dad kicked kicked at it to go in, and it took off the front half of his foot. He had to fight to stop it from pulling him in. Locally, there was a fellow by last name Santini. They found him. He went in head first, and they found him. He was through the chopper. They found the ass end of him from his buttocks back, the legs. That's it, ass and legs. The rest went through the chopper, but his hips were too wide, and it jammed up and just stripped the rest of his body off. But could you imagine getting your hand stuck in that fucking thing? And I'm going to use profanity here because that's exactly what... It's a fucking thing. You get your hand in that fucking thing, and it starts to pull you in like this, and you can't get out. And the next, it's cutting your arm, and then the spikes and everything, the feed rolls start getting to your head, and takes the top of your freaking head off. Oh, I just don't even want to experience anything close to that. Of course he died, but he knew he was going to die, and he felt the blade slicing through his flesh all the way to his head. I think that's my son. So I think with him waking up, I'm going to have to... yeah, it's definitely him. I'm going to have to get going here. There's a whole bunch more that I could... here, we'll do this. Timmy Cornpecker. Art Krantz, which, is clearing a plug in the snapper rolls of a Ford-mounted cornpecker with his foot. I was a little kid, so maybe 1979. Can't remember which one, but one of the Reinhardts lost a hand unclocking the feed roller. Well, Bernie Beatty, he lost his fingers in a corn chopper. He had kicked the PTO down. I don't know what he did, but stuck his hand in there, and it just lobbed the fingers. That's a cat. Just lobbed his fingers off. So he went, picked his fingers out of the chopper. It didn't, because it was winding down, and he stuck his hand in there and just sliced them off. Anyway, he picked his fingers out of the damn thing, put them in a mayonnaise jar, filled it with alcohol, and they're still in the refrigerator in the milk house. At least they were a few years ago, because I talked to his daughter, and I'm like, hey, is your dad's fingers still in the refrigerator? It's like, holy shit. Yeah, it's crazy. But he made it to the races that night. He made it to the races at the Flemington Fair. That's what I was told. Yeah. The only problem I had with the grain bin is you didn't have kind of safety line while getting in and out on one slip and you're on the ground. Probably not life-threatening, but could bust you up pretty good. I've climbed up and down that bin my entire life, and don't worry about it. If I fall off of that thing, it's my own stupid fault. Oh, look at the shine on that head. So it's my own stupid fault. But as far as the grain bin is concerned, I knew there was no bridge in that grain bin. And you guys, I understand that you're concerned for my safety. Yes, it is dangerous to climb into a grain bin, especially when it's running out with a 10-inch auger. I think it's a 10-inch auger. If it's running out with a 10-inch auger, it is a 10-inch. If it's running out with a 10-inch auger, it's going to go very quickly. It can suck you down if you're not paying attention, and then you're fucked. But I don't go in there when it's running. I will only go in there when it's running when I have the sweep going. And, I haven't gotten that far empty yet. I was up there yesterday to look inside. I turned the bin fans on because I haven't run in a while. And it's good to actually run the bin fans. And for everybody that says, oh my God, you got CO2 gas in there, they're vented. They're vented, guys. Come on, get with it. It's not like it's a silo. It's a grain bin. It's a silo. A silo has fermenting stuff in it. A grain bin does not. Turn on the bin fan, whew, blows all that air and moisture right out of there, and you're fine. So, anyway, let's do Redneck Dave. When I was a kid, we had a lawnmower with a safety switch. I could not drive it till I was 10 because I was not heavy enough to keep it running. Well, that's a good thing. William is going to make a great cameraman. Oh, yes, he will. You would not believe. He gets my camera and boom, goes. So, anyways, I hope you enjoyed this. Probably most of you are, most of you will just turn this thing on, not look at my ugly mug here and my Trump 2024 hat, because you know what? Hey, what we have today in the White House is a dead bag of skin that they have strings attached to. And honestly, Warner Brothers has got him perfect. Perfect. It's Porky Pig. Ibit, 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 ibit. That's all, folks. That's what our president is. I don't call him the president. It's what the dead bag of skin in the White House is. He is Porky Pig. Honest to God. When he gets off the teleprompter, you cannot even understand what the hell he is saying. Ibit, 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 ibit. That's all, folks. Sign $1.9 trillion away. It's like, there it is. Get up and walk out of the room, not one question. You know, I'd rather have a president that takes questions. Like, did you read it? That would have been my first question. Did you read what's in there, or did somebody read that to you? Because I'm pretty sure your reading skills are pretty shitty. I wouldn't have signed that into law. No way. No, ladies and gentlemen. No. But who the hell am I? I'm just some dumb farmer in New Jersey, right?